Let's do it.
So I think we all want to reduce price competition. We've all been in this situation where it's like, okay, the buyers, I'm going to collect 3 quotes. I'm going to compare the 3 of you. And when they get all 3 quotes and they're very similar and all the offers are the same, they're only left to go with price. So what we're going to talk about today is how we're going to gain authority in a niche so that there's 2 general quotes and then there's 1 that is an expert quote. And we're going to show you guys how to build that. I think we're all aware of this concept of niching. Multiple ways to say it. Steve says niche. I say niche. I've heard the phrase, the riches are in the niches. That rhymes. We're going to go with that for today.
The riches are in the niches, man.
Could say it that way. I want to open it up with a question for you guys. I think a lot of us have tried this before. We've dipped our toes in the water. What is the hardest part about becoming an expert in the niche?
Why don't you guys toss the answers in the chat for us? I want to know what you think is the hardest part. Consistency.
Yeah.
I always thought, okay, authority, finding a niche, that's a good one. Choosing a niche, yeah. So I actually started to focus on, as morbid as this sounds, funeral homes. I had one funeral home client. Nate rolls his eyes at me.
No, I'm actually talking about how good that is. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you looked, disappointed, I don't know. But no, I had, one really big funeral home in the area that was my client, and because they were my client, another one just saw that as an authoritative reason to work with me. Next thing I knew, I had several funeral homes as clients, and, most of them were all using the same software. So then I'm now getting to know this software more. I've got contacts at the developer of that software company. I'm working with that company to see if they have some type of training or certification process. So that was my journey. That took a long time to do it that way though. That took like 5 years to build up that client base, going the, "Oh, he works with the biggest one in the area, so we should work with him too."
So I love that point, Steve, that you just had a client. And some of the people are saying like the hardest thing is actually choosing what's the best niche. We also got proving it to others. We're going to totally talk about that. And building authority in the niche. And then Alexia said consistency. And I think we're going to give you a strategy to build authority. We're going to give you a strategy to be super consistent on building that authority. And we will definitely talk about choosing a niche. And I think, Steve, what I like about your story is you never ran a funeral home. And a lot of times we feel like if I'm going to niche into that market, I have to first have a career in that market and to have any authority to teach anything in that market. But I think it's absolutely not true.
Mhm.
I know the biggest names in this niche in the MSP space never ran MSPs because at the end of the day, actually, we're all small business owners. So sometimes like, well, I can't really go in because, there's somebody in my niche who used to own that type of business. Our client, Lauren Levine, the digital dentist, he was a periodontist for 20 years before he opened his IT company, had a full career as a dentist. That's great. He's got that little edge, but there are so many edges you can get on owning the dental market without having to actually become a dentist. So I think that's one thing we can kind of just dispel that myth right there, that you have to like have physical experience in the niche. I never ran an MSP, but I do feel comfortable talking to MSPs because we have a similar background in starting in computer repair and, building websites and things like that. So I do
Mhm.
think when you choose a niche, you don't have to have worked in the niche. You don't have to have owned a business in the niche. You don't have to have the background that Steve happens to have. You could still do this job at Alternative Payments without actually owning your MSP for 10 years. You could do an amazing job on it. And you could do this in another niche as well. Like, Steve, you have what it takes. I know you can. That's one thing. It's an edge you have, but it's not the only thing. So we don't need to, when we're choosing our niche, we don't need to like do something we've done. But that being said, you do want to do something where you feel comfortable hanging out with the people, where you feel comfortable talking to them. Um, I'll share a little bit more about my journey in a bit, and I'll talk about my first few niches, which ended up being a disaster, and how I actually wound up with MSPs. So thank you guys for sharing that. We're going to cover everything you guys talked about today. And this is the topic of today, how I went from unknown to I see you everywhere in the MSP world. If you guys don't know me, my name is Nate Freedman. I help MSPs get new clients. I operate two brands, Tech Pro Marketing, which is our agency. We've been operating under that brand name for about 7 years, and we exclusively work with MSPs. And then also something we've been working on for the last couple of years, it's called MSP Sites. And where Tech Pro Marketing operates as like a traditional marketing agency, you kind of hire us on and we are your outsourced IT department or outsourced marketing department. With MSP Sites, it's more of a system, it's more of a program that we install and we run with you. So our main focus right now is helping MSPs under $10 million, under $5 million, under $1 million get new clients. And that's what it's all about. Right now, we're don't want to jinx ourselves, but we're in a little bit of a boom period with Tech Pro Marketing, MSP Sites. Been named as one of the fastest marketing companies in the country by multiple sources. But this is also 10 years in. And most of it has actually felt a little bit more like this. And I think we're all entrepreneurs here, so we understand the roller coaster that we're going on. And for me, the biggest parts of the roller coaster, where I was going up and down and upside down, that was when I didn't have a niche. The biggest thing happened to me was actually when my first child was born. So this is my daughter, Zoe. She's now 9. She's going to be 10 this summer. And this was before I was niche down. And I remember the problems with niching down. We're talking about specifically this problem about how when people compare quotes and you don't have an expertise, they're only left to compare price. But when you have expertise, it's able to say, well, these two are cheaper, but they don't have this. They don't know the exact Dentrix software. They're not certified in the funeral home software that Steve is. So even though it's a little more, they've got the exact thing for my niche. So I'm going to go with Steve. So that's the price part of it. But actually, the biggest thing for me was not on the sales and marketing side. It was on the delivery side. Because what happened was every time I took on a new client before I had a niche, before I only worked with MSPs, I would have to go and redevelop the strategy every single time. So that meant that I had to do business discovery, learn what's going on with that business. Then I would have to go and do market discovery, understand what's going on in the market. Then I would have to create a marketing strategy based on the business and the market and pray that it was going to work, because it was the first time I was ever deploying this strategy each and every time. And as good as a marketer that I was, or I still am, actually I wasn't good back then, but as decent as I was back then, even the best marketer in the world, the first time they do something, they're never going to do it good. So if you guys are anything like me, the first time I do something, I actually suck at it. The second time, I'm a tiny bit better. The third time, I'm like, okay, I'm getting the hang of it. It usually, depending on what it is, takes me 10, 20 times before I'm any good at it. And I was having to restart this every time. And then when I tried to scale my business, and I was like, all right, I'm done. This is too hard for me. I'm going to hire somebody to do this impossible task that I can't even do. Of course, it all came crumbling down. And nobody's going to be able to, if you can't, as an entrepreneur, keep up with reinventing the wheel every single time, how are you going to pay somebody to do that? I mean, you're going to have to pay someone $500,000 a year to be able to handle that type of stuff. So for me, whenever I had a big website launch or a CRM launch or a big marketing launch, you bet I was involved in every single one. And back then, because I was also competing on price, every deal was so important to me that on the day my first daughter was born, I had to jump from the delivery room back to my laptop to make sure this launch was going okay. And I had to actually get on with the client that same day. Looking back, it's the most embarrassing thing that ever happened in my life. I can't believe I was in that position, but it was also a major turning point for me. And that's when I did start making this decision to niche down. I'll talk a little about the first few niches. The first niche I went into, because you guys wanted to know, was actually vending machines. And it was just like, Steve, hey, I have a good client who's in the vending machine business. They do vending services, fill up vending machines, kind of like managed services, but for vending machines. They do that. And I like the client. So I'm going to go find out more clients. And I actually went so far as getting published in the Vending Times. It's like the first time I ever got published. I reached out, I met all these different vending companies. But at the end, what I found with that niche was like literally nobody had any money. It was actually a niche that just nobody had money. And I wasn't in the exact right spot of it. The services company just couldn't afford marketing. Then I went and I was like, well, I've been doing a lot of these CRM integrations. I know that this like company Salesforce, everyone who's involved in Salesforce like wants to spend a lot of money. I just had like these dollar signs in my eyes. So I was like, I'm going to do Pardot implementation. And Pardot is like a CRM tool. It's like a marketing automation tool for Salesforce. It's kind of like ActiveCampaign, but for Salesforce. Anyway, I hooked in with some Salesforce professionals. They brought me to their projects. But what happened to me is I was in these projects and I was working with like mid-market businesses that had internal marketing managers. And I am not the corporate type. So some people, like, they really know how to like operate corporate world. They like managers, they like marketing managers, they like collaborations. And like, for me, I was just like, it was like one of the times in the world I was like, I can tell everyone here hates me. And that's because they were all corporate types. But then eventually I got a new client randomly. It was Trent from Layered IT in San Francisco. And I was like, Trent, like tell me about your business. He's like, well, we're an MSP. And I'm like, well, what's an MSP? Like, I don't know what that means. And he explained it to me. I was like, oh, sounds like sort of the stuff I was doing at Base Day Computer Repair. And he's like, yeah, it sort of was. And then he's like, well, what type of keyboard do you use? I'm like, I like mechanical keyboard. I do too. What retro game? Oh, we're all into the same stuff. Tell me about your smart home. And we were actually hit it off right away. And I was like, this is the type of person I can talk to. And this is the type of person I enjoy talking to. And this is the type of entrepreneur that I enjoy inspiring and that I get inspired back by. So in terms of choosing your niche, does that give us somewhere to go for the people who want to know how to choose your niche? Is that kind of a good start for you guys? Just throw a yes in the chat if that's going to help you. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. We got a yes. Thank you. So for Ryan, like for us, we're really looking for owner, like in my case, we're looking for owner-led MSPs, owner-led marketing MSPs. So if you're that's what I'm saying, up to 10 million. If you're over 10 million, it gets a little bit more complex. But for us, it's kind of like, as long as the founder is ready to go all in and wants to take ownership of this, we want to work with you. And you can be from 10,000 MRR up to 10 million a year. So cool. Thank you, Ryan. And like for me, once I got into the MSP space, I immediately found my people. This is Super Summit 2023. And kind of just being in this space, getting involved, is where I made the connection with, this is Baxter. And he's the founder of Alternative Payments. So some of you guys here, you came in through Alternative Payments, you might know Baxter. That's me. This is the CEO of Super Ops. We've got Nick Points from Chartech. Just Juan Fernandez, forget what company he's with right now. We got an all-star crew. Michael Nelson from Scaled, of the MSP space. And this was one of the times where I was like, cool, I feel like I've really broken into the niche. And also, that's what led me here today. So we're going to kind of unravel that story as well. And now today, my goal is to help 1,000 MSPs install that client getting system into their business. To do that, we use something called our Get Clients model. The Get Clients model has three main pieces to it. Visibility. This means when like that small percent of the market is actually looking for a new IT company, they're typing in IT services near me, IT support near me, that they find you and you're visible. The next piece is building a relationship with that other 97%. So we know only 3% of the market is actually in the market. What about that 97% that's happy with their IT company for now? That's got that internal IT guy, and he's going to retire in 3 years, maybe sooner. And you don't need him right now, but you want to build a relationship with them. So we do some type of relationship marketing. And then conversion, having the ability to take a suspect, turn them into a prospect, and a prospect, turn them into a new client. When you have visibility and relationships, that gives you authority. When you have the ability to convert and ability to build relationships, that means you've got a proven sales process. And when you've got visibility and you've got an ability to convert that visibility, that gives you inbound leads. Today, we're really going to be focusing on this authority piece, a little bit of visibility, a little bit of relationships, a little bit of conversion, but this is all about building authority. So thank you guys. We had a lot of good chatter so far. But let me frame this the other way. We talked about how it's so hard, but once you do succeed, once you do become an authority in your niche, like Steve did with funeral homes, what's the benefits of that?
I mean, I have an answer.
Yeah, what was the benefit for you?
You make a shitload of money, man.
That's true.
I mean, if I'm being honest and I'm cutting to the chase, you know, once I had funeral homes coming to me, now it's not now it doesn't feel like I'm going to them and trying to pitch them like I'm the one that had all the power, not them. They want me. I don't want them. I mean, I do, but you know what I mean.
I think so. Number one, yes, you don't have to struggle with pricing. You're going to make more money. You're going to be able to close more deals. But your exact point, that's what I love about it is I'm like at this point, like I'm not rich, but I'm fine. I've got a good business. We're doing well. We're growing. Everything's going well. At this point, I don't want to, if you don't want to work with me, I don't want to work with you, like legitimately. And that was one of the hardest points of my business was when I was like, I hate this guy. I don't want to work with him, but I need the money. When you're
Mhm.
niche down, you can, you swore first, the FU money. It's like, no, I'm good. I've got a bunch of other funeral homes that want to work with me. I don't need to work with you, pain in the butt, 2-person book confirm or whatever. And this is something cool that happened with Austin. He was one of my private clients. We did an awesome kind of strategy session with him. And a big piece of his play was gaining authority in the DoD space. And I've seen so many MSPs be like, we want to help with compliance. We want to help with NIST and CMMC. It's like, well, you know what Austin did to have success with it? Is he wrote the book on it, the CMMC compliance guide.
Oh my goodness.
He built got the trade show booth specifically for aerospace manufacturers. It doesn't say aerospace manufacturers and all other small businesses and everyone else in the world, which I see so often, right? He went out and he bought the donuts and he gave them away at the aerospace manufacturing conference. So he went all in on the niche. And when you go all in on the niche, helps you build authority and also allows you to open up to other advertising platforms. So one of the things that me and Steve kind of talked about leading into this is like, well, we know a lot of MSPs, they get their leads like locally. And I actually believe there's an amazing local play. So I don't think there's anything wrong with building a non-niched, amazing local MSP. And I've got great strategies for that. But what this opens up for Austin is, yeah, they're in somewhere in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They can work with DoD contractors anywhere in the country because of their expertise. They don't have to go on site. And the benefit of them knowing everything about DoD and CMMC
Mhm.
outweighs the benefit of someone else being local.
Absolutely.
So he was actually able to use Facebook advertising, kind of the same platform that I use. A lot of the people that I brought to this webinar, you found me on Facebook or Instagram. He was able to do this in his market and get appointments for $500 every single time. That was pretty cool. For most MSPs in the local market, we're seeing appointments closer to $1,000. For some tough markets, even $2,000 in advertising. He's got a super low cost per appointment. You close one in every 4 of those, it's going to be pretty good. $2,000 for a new client, I would take that. But here's the problem I hear MSPs talk about with niching is number one, if I niche down, I'll lose other opportunities. And it's like, I know, like I can't, no, I still want to take on everybody. I'm going to tell you guys throughout this why burning the boat, you got to make that decision and doing that at the right time is the right thing to do. But when I dig deeper, is it's not actually just about losing out on other opportunities. It's this self-doubt, right? That I actually don't know the niche well enough. And my competitors in the niche, they owned this or they worked there before they got into the MSP space, or they have more authority. And I can't solve their problems confidently. We're going to figure this one out, how to gain that confidence.
Mhm.
And the truth is that we're staying broad because it feels safe. And becoming like micro famous or whatever, like famous in your niche, maybe some of us are scared of that and scared of the attention and scared of the success that you're going to have when you do it. It's weird, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, but that's how humans act. Here's the opportunity, guys. Because the thing is, niching down, the truth of it, it doesn't shrink your opportunities. It actually multiplies them. We're talking about all the ways it multiplies it. And when you focus on a niche, repetition accelerates mastery until your delivery becomes world class. So this is the whole thing about it, guys. If you're somebody who's like, well, I'm not good enough in that niche, so I can't niche down. That's like somebody saying, I'm not in good enough shape to go to the gym, so I'm going to like wait till I get in shape before I go to the gym. You don't get in shape by not going to the gym. You go to the gym and then you get in shape. So it's the same thing here. You just have to start doing it. And the more repetitions you get, you will become the expert before you know it. Because the truth is, people trust specialists, not generalists. And for you guys, we're going to show you becoming the authority in your niche is simpler than you think. And the way we're going to do it is through this thing called market infrastructure. Market infrastructure is things like podcasts, webinars, blogs, magazines, anything that has been pre-built for you. A lot of times when I hear MSPs say, I'm niching down, cool, what's the first thing you're going to do? I'm going to write a blog post on my blog about it. And it's like, just going to call out, I know some of the websites. So I know, Daryl, I'm just going to call you out jokingly, but it's like Daryl runs Technique. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't know that many small businesses that are waking up in the morning and they're saying, I'm going to go read the Technique blog. But I definitely do know a lot of small firm architects that are like, yeah, I listen to everything in Traxel, right? I listen to Entree Architect. I watch every podcast of theirs. So it's just that people don't go to generalist blogs. They go to the blogs within their niche. So it's nothing against, your specific MSP's blog. There's nothing against it. It's just nobody's interested in reading that. They want to read the stuff on their niche. So instead of trying to gain your own audience and start your own podcast, do your own webinar, when you're starting in a niche, let's use the ones that are already there and that already have an audience. 5 steps to becoming authority. The first step is to map your market. I'm going to give you guys a tool here. It's called the market map. And you guys are like, I'm going to put this into an AI and build all stuff. You can do whatever you want with that. For me, I love this being in a spreadsheet. So I'm going to give you guys a spreadsheet at the end of this training. And the spreadsheet's going to look like this. It's going to have all of these columns for the name, the contact person, the type of audience, the status, your persistence, which is how many times you've reached out to them, the last time you've touched them, the reach means how big the audience is, and all this stuff is it explains it all on the first page. The URL, the email address, the contact number. When I did this in 2018, so about 8 years ago, when I decided to break into the MSP niche, this is what I did. And I reached out to a magazine or a blog called Channel Futures, and that's run by Informa. They run an event in Vegas every year. I think it's still around. I emailed one time to Lorna. They said, Nate, we'd love to have you on our blog. And that's where I wrote my first article. Then I reached out to Barracuda, and there was a woman named Lauren Beliveau there. They have a pretty big blog. It's called Smarter MSP. I had to email 2 times. The persistence says twice. They didn't respond the first time. And then they accepted me and they said, Nate, we'll have you on the blog. Of course, this only shows up to 28. There was about 60 in this list. So most of them said no. But of the first 9, they all accepted me. And, you know, Kevin Clune, MSP Growth Hacks, became a great friend of mine. Somehow around this point, I got on to the Rocket MSP podcast with Steve. And this was how I started things out. So the first thing I want you guys to do when you're going into your niche, let's just examine what's there already. If you don't have a list of 50 or 100 places where you can publish your content, whether it's a podcast, a blog post, a magazine article, or a webinar, or a LinkedIn Live, or collaborating on their Facebook page, whatever it is, it's going to be really hard for you to make traction in that niche.
Hmm.
I did my first one in 2018. I told you guys this Barracuda Smarter MSP. And then I did this slide deck a few weeks ago, more than that, or a few months ago, but they published my last one just a few weeks ago. This is just one from November. Sean, I didn't have time to add yours, but if you want to share the link, Sean just said he did this recently. He published his own. He did this whole exercise. He went through this training with me already. He's getting a refresher today. Sean just got published in Construction Magazine, I think it was. It was so cool. And these things lead to more things. So right now I've written 72, probably 75 articles on that one blog. They invited me on to be on their Ask an Expert, right? So they interviewed me and promoted me as an expert. Once I started doing this, like no offense to myself, nobody's reading the Contractor Magazine is what Sean's in. Thank you for sharing that. So they invited me on to be interviewed in their Ask an Expert series. And they actually have a big readership because Barracuda, they sell their XDR email filtering. They've got all their networking appliances. They're on the New York Stock Exchange. They're one of the top stocks in the world. They've got a huge list of like 20,000 MSPs that read all their stuff. So when I did this, I started getting messages from guys like Jonathan Baker and Ron that said, "Hey, I read your article. I read your guide on Barracuda. I have more questions for you." And then Barracuda invited me on to the webinar to do a webinar with them. Nate, we're doing a webinar series. I'm not going to show you my whole webinar I did with them, but literally they were like, "Nate, how can we get you more clients from this?" And I was like, "What do you want me to like pitch my service?" Like, "Yes, this webinar won't be a success unless you get new clients from it." I was like, "This is so cool. I love you guys." Now you can see why I wrote 75 articles for them and I keep doing it. And this is just me on their platform pitching my services. It was so nice of them. People coming onto our website. How'd you hear about me? In a webinar. How'd you hear about us? In a webinar. So guys, the market map, that's step 1. You're going to put in all the content publishers, but also you've got competitors, strategic partners. I put in guests who could be on my own member training. But one of the cool things is I put in all the competitors there. And a lot of times you look at competitors and you're like, "Oh, that's a bad guy. I don't like him." No, bad. For me, I was like, you know what? I bet we're not in as deep competition as we think we are. This is not an alternative payments versus, not going to say their name, whatever. This is not a head-to-head situation. It's not the Yankees and the Red Sox. We're serving the same market. We might have different subsets of the market. And in fact, one of the guys I reached out to was Stuart Crawford. I just DM'd him on LinkedIn. We became friends. We started bitching about the same stuff. We're the only two people that could relate to each other with all this craziness we're dealing with. And then when Stuart was ready to retire, he reached out to me and said, "Nate, I'm retiring. I need you to buy my business." Then I acquired Ulistic. Then Channel E2E, which didn't accept me as a guest blogger, they're like, "No, Nate, you're not ready." They did publish my article when we acquired Ulistic. So guys, this market map, do we see how important that is? Do we see how you can't do anything in a market without a market map?
My mind's blown.
Okay. Steve's going to niche down. I love this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a simple system for cold outreach. So A lot of times, thank you, Sean. Yes. A lot of times people are like, I'm going to put this into all these workflows and I'm going to register all these extra domains and I'm going to like do some crazy outreach to get in there. I'm telling you guys, just use the spreadsheet, send the emails. That's it. A lot of
Yeah.
times you're going to go find these places and they're going to have a page like this on the website, right? For Smarter MSP. Here's how you do it. Submit it. Here's the guidelines. That's so easy. You literally just follow the instructions and do it. Other times you might need to do a quick email. This is my old brand before I was operating Tech Pro Marketing. This is when we were a generalist agency. Hadn't even switched the brand yet. So if you're like, do I need to have a brand specific to that niche? I got published with my old brand, but once I got published a couple times, I was like, it's time to switch. All you do is send a quick message. Do you accept contributions? What's the process? Yeah, just send it over. It's that simple. We did this for Dennis Bourne from Bourne Tech. This guy's cool. If anyone was at ScaleCon, he was there. That was so fun to see him this year. He reached out to Louisiana Family Practice. Yeah, cool. We're going to get the Noggs article next. There it is, published in the physical edition of the Louisiana Family Practice magazine that gets mailed out to every family doctor in Louisiana. How cool was that?
That is pretty cool.
One thing is, you guys, it's 1:38. We're just trying to provide a ton of value in this training. And we want to make sure that everyone walks away here understanding what they need to do. But I do want to take a moment, not too much time, just to thank Steve for being the host of this. Alternative payments, I showed you guys, I met Baxter through this strategy. That's what led to it. Became friends with him. I met Steve through this strategy. Knew them both independently. Steve started working for alternative payments. Two of my great friends in the industry. So I'm happy to be here, but I do want to take a moment to kind of talk about, especially for my audience who came here, you guys saw my thing. I want to take a moment and just kind of introduce like alternative payments or what it is, or ask Steve too. So is that cool if we do that? Even if you say no, we're doing it. Let's go.
Love it. Well, hey, I appreciate it, Nate. So welcome to Alternative Payments office hours today, if this is your first time. Nate's been walking us through how MSPs build authority in a niche, so they can charge what they're worth, stop justifying their rates. We've still got more coming from Nate on the winning framework and the actual outreach process you can run starting this week. But I want to take a couple of minutes here because a lot of you may not know what alternative payments actually is, and it connects more than what we're talking. It connects more to what we're talking about today than you might think. So as you see here, here's the thing about becoming the expert in your space, right? Everything has to match that positioning, including how you get paid. Over 700 MSPs use alternative payments, and a lot of them, we're still on the first slide, use alternative payments, and a lot of them tell us the same thing. Their clients notice the difference immediately. You're not sending generic invoices anymore. You're giving clients a modern payment experience that matches the premium service you're providing. So your clients are going to get a branded portal where they can see their invoices, manage their payment methods, and set up auto pay themselves. That's it. You stop chasing. They handle it. This is what Nate's talking about when he says experts operate differently than everyone else. The whole experience your client has with you, including how they pay you, starts to reflect the authority you're building. And the part that clients really love, they can set up their own rules. On this slide here, you'll see they can set up for whatever, auto pay anything under $1,000, auto pay net 10, whatever works for their business. Most payment platforms, they don't do this. Most MSPs can't offer this. But if you're positioning yourself as the expert in your niche, you probably want to operate like one. Now, behind the scenes, we're going to connect to just about anything you're running, okay? ConnectWise, Halo, Autotask, QuickBooks, Zero, a bunch of others. The invoice is going to go out automatically the moment it's created in your PSA. When the payment comes in, everything syncs. We mark it paid in your PSA. We create the deposit in your accounting platform. We handle the fees correctly. We build the entries your bookkeeper needs to match the bank feed. You're not doing manual reconciliation at month end. You're using that time to write the articles and land the podcast interviews Nate just taught you about. Now, here's what that looks like in practice. Our customers typically eliminate around 80% of their manual AR work. They save an average of 3% by moving clients from credit cards to ACH. And they get paid faster because clients can pay the moment the invoice lands or just set it and forget it with autopay. So, if you're trying to free up hours every week to build authority in your niche, this is the kind of thing that actually makes that possible. And our onboarding team is going to migrate all your existing customer payment data to our platform without breaking PCI DSS compliance. So getting started is it's going to be a lot easier than you think, right? So I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. If you're curious how other MSPs are automating their AR without adding headcount, just let us know. And if not, that's okay. You can let us know that too. So while you're answering that, Nate, why don't you tell the audience a bit more about what you've got going on? And then we still have more authority building and execution stuff coming right after that. And I will answer some chat questions in the chat.
Okay, cool. Thank you guys. Um, so like that was awesome, Steve. By the way, that was so smooth. I love that. And this is an example, what we're doing right now is an example of me and you. We're kind of doing a combined here, leveraging each other's market infrastructure. So you've brought your audience, a whole new audience that is going to see my offer, and my audience is now seeing your offer. And this is an example of leveraging existing audiences. We met through the market map, which was the first tool. And then what I'm doing now is actually the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the winning framework. Before I get to there, I want to take a quick moment because some people, we're going to go into the very end. We're gonna finish this off, but we're gonna actually be kind of at the ending. And I know some of you guys have a back-to-back meeting. You're gonna at 2 p.m. Eastern. You're gonna be out. Maybe at 1:59, you have to get ready for the next one. So we're not squeezing anything to the end. If this has inspired you, if this is something where you're like, you know what, I like what Nate's teaching. I want more of that teaching. I want to see how they can implement it for me. What you need to do is go to mspsites.com/call. What it's going to do is going to bring up a calendar that just looks like the one you're seeing on the screen right here. We're booked up the rest of this week. Our growth call calendar is filled with other MSPs who have scheduled time with us. But probably by Tuesday next week, we've got some openings. So it's a good time to book that right now. Just go to the page, schedule the call. That'll connect you with either Susanna or Cassie from my team. Those two are experts at getting MSPs set in the right direction, and they're going to help you figure out kind of what challenges you're facing right now. Get clear on what you're trying to do with your marketing. How many leads do you need to actually hit your goals? And if we're the right fit, we're going to spend lots of time explaining how our program works. Like I mentioned earlier, my goal is to have 100% raving fan clients. So if we can tell you're not going to love us and you're not a raving fan, we'll point you in another direction. Or if we feel like we can't help you and we're not going to be able to get you the results that you need, you're obviously not going to become a raving fan, and we'll point you in a different direction. We've got a lot of other great MSP marketers that we know that we collaborate with when someone's not the perfect fit for our program. But if you are the perfect fit for our program, this is the place to start. So you can do that at mspsites.com/call. Thank you, guys. The winning
Now,
framework. Oh, yeah.
now I gotta say, I tried. I said, Nate, I'll put up a poll, and he said, no, I don't want a poll. I want them to go to the website. So I'll pop the website in the chat. And for those of you that still didn't answer the poll for alternative payments yet, that is still up. I'd love if you guys could pop an answer on that. Yes, we handle US and Canada. So if you're in either of those locations, definitely let us show you how we can help. All
Awesome.
right, Nate, the winning framework. Let's do it, man.
The winning framework for guest content. There's 6 easy steps. And this is whether you're doing a podcast, whether you're doing a webinar, whether you're doing an article for a blog, whether you're speaking at a live event. Pretty much everything you do, if you go and watch this whole presentation again, you're going to see that it follows this framework. We're going to, number one, talk about our credibility. I see MSPs miss this all the time. They just jump right in. It's like, dude, you're not a paid reporter here. You're not a paid blogger who's getting paid to just write like a newspaper article.
Mhm.
You're submitting content for free, and this is a fair trade, and you need to explain who you are and why they should listen to you. Number two, you got to explain why you're even talking about this, right? Why is this important to them? Why is this important to you? Number three, you're going to explain the big problem that your audience faces. I went through that big problem section. Then you're going to actually outline the solution. This is the core of the article. This is the three teaching points that you might put in your article. You're going to explain the net benefit, right? So if you follow this, not only are you going to have your network that won't go down, you'll actually be able to focus on growing your business, whatever the net benefit provided in. And then MSPs always miss this one as well. And if you guys check Sean's article, he crushed it with the winning framework. His call to action is so strong at the end. And it's just like we just did, right? If this has inspired you, schedule a call with us. And this is the other thing I see people miss all the time. You did all this great teaching and you don't give anyone a way to reach out to you. So some of these things can feel awkward when you do this. You can feel like, I don't want to self-promote. Some people want help. You know what I mean? Not everyone
Mhm.
wants to DIY everything. So let's serve the people that don't want to DIY and give them some options to get it done by you helping. So credibility, an example from that first article I showed you on Barracuda. This is exactly what I wrote. And guys, at this point, it's not as as an MSP only marketing company that works with over 250 MSPs in North America and has been serving this market for 8 years. I didn't have that back then, but I had something as a marketing professional with more than a decade of entrepreneurial experience, right? I had something and I snuck that in. I didn't say, here's why I'm credible. I used this as a blank leading into my first point. Then you got to talk about the why, right? Most of the time I hear two distinct stories, usually from the same people. But at the end, the story isn't nearly as optimistic as the beginning. These same people often tell me that despite their best efforts, the tactics just don't seem to be working for them. So this is why is people are telling me that they've got this issue and I keep hearing it all the time. Then you get into the problem. Far too many people fail to succeed with digital marketing tactics because there isn't a clear strategy at the heart of it. And I think, honestly, this is a great problem to harp on no matter what industry you're serving and no matter what product you're selling. It's always something along these lines is that you're literally just doing tactics without a good strategy. So for a lot of your articles, you can literally just use this one. Solution, right, is not by looking outward, but looking inward towards organization yourself. And the net benefit, right? Something that compared to MSP that works exclusively with dental offices, which is something we're talking about today. Not only that, but they have a proprietary process for doing so, something that already makes them unique and helps them stand up in the crowd. Suddenly, they're no longer lost at sea. They know exactly where the boat needs to end up. It gives you a goal. So this is the net benefit of today's topic and literally happened to be that same topic that I taught 8 years ago in this article for Barracuda. And then the call to action. If you feel like this describes your situation, I encourage you to apply for a one-on-one strategy call with us. Like literally, just tell them, if this is helpful and you want to learn more, schedule a call with me and get them right to your calendar page. See, guys, I'm not special, right? All I did was follow the framework and that's it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a niche landing page. A lot of times people are like, I need to build this huge website. I need to create this whole massive thing. Your niche landing page should take you a weekend. As an entrepreneur, guys, a lot of things we're going to be doing is over a weekend. That's what we do, right? We're in meetings. I got stuff going on all week. Yeah. So for me, my time to work on stuff like this sucks sometimes, but usually I like doing it. 5 a.m. on a Sunday. My family's still sleeping. I've got 5 good hours before they're going to come down and want to play with me, my kids. That's when I do this. Friday nights, 8 to 1 a.m. Yeah, man. I'm vibe coding a landing page. Here's how we're going to do that. We're going to start with something called the lean canvas. And I'm going to give you guys this at the end. The lean canvas is a one-page go-to-market strategy. This comes from the lean framework, which is something that Silicon Valley startups were doing about 20, 30 years ago. There's 2 great books on it, The Lean Startup by Ash Maurya and Running Lean by Eric Rice. They're all about this idea of putting a quick go-to-market before this whole term of go-to-market ever blew up over the last couple of years. Just really quick go-to-market, testing it and iterating on it. Don't do a 60-page business plan. Don't do a 60-page website plan. Literally fill this out. When I did this for KL Tech and we're working on their construction funnel, these are the things we came up with, was that the problem that the construction companies they're facing, they need to spin up a field office quickly and efficiently. So when we create the landing page, like, do you need to spin up field offices as soon as you get a contract? That's what we help with, right? Do you need support on a weird schedule because you guys have to do your thing in the middle of the night? Cool. We have custom support schedules. Every problem has a solution. We talked about who the customer segment is. We talked about their unique value proposition. We got through this and we're like, you know what, dude? I don't even think we don't need to fill out the rest. We got enough in here. So you don't have to fill out the whole thing. Get as much as you can. And then you're going to take this and you're going to put it into something called the Story Brand website framework. Story Brand is amazing kind of style for creating a website. A lot of people heard about it, but basically net benefit, problems, services, whatever, you fit it all in there. I'm going to give you guys a framework for this. I'm going to literally give you guys a design file. So you can actually just grab this. When we did this with KL Tech, I thought it came out awesome. Reduce waste, delays and downtime, complete IT managed for construction businesses. Here's Adam. We got a great quote from him. Yeah, schedule a call. Here's our call to action. We built out a whole program for him for hard hat IT consulting by KL Tech.
That thing looks so sharp.
Thank you. We've got a good designer on our team. It took me years. I mean, it didn't take me years, but I've tried so hard to get good designers, and it's still my first designer ever. Is still like the ace. She's the master. If you get one, don't let them go. But even if it didn't look sharp like this, the language is what really matters, but if you did want to do it with us, like, our designer works on it. So last thing, man, we got to milk it. So I'm one for milking it. Some people think I milk it too much. Like, Nate, you're milking that Inc. 5000. I know you're on it 2 years in a row, but you have to keep telling everybody every time, sort of. When TSI, Technical Support International, when they were first getting into the DoD space, we got them on Signal Magazine. We got them on National Defense Magazine. Put that at the main top of their website. I mentioned ARC IT. Literally, this is the front page. You get to the big page. This is every podcast we've been on. And when people who listen to Traxel, who listen to Business of Architecture, who are in Entre Architect, like, oh, cool, these guys are associated with them. Even on my site right now, I got all these other proof points. I still got all this stuff in here. Channel, Executive Magazine, Barracuda, Smarter MSP, Growth Hacks, all the ones you saw on my market map, they're right there. So I want to ask you guys a question. Which one of these 5 are the one that you guys really need? What's the one that's going to push the needle for you? Is it actually building that market map and being like, okay, I need to know exactly what's in the infrastructure? Is it just doing the outreach without overthinking it? Is it not engineering some Sean's doing the market map? For me, it is the market map. Right answer. Is it the winning framework? That one is huge as well. Is it creating the next landing page, or is it, once I get on these publications, milking it? Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, Daniel is doing the market map. I've got something cool for you guys. I got a 30-day plan for you. What we're going to do is week 1, we're going to build your market map, and your landing page is going to happen on the weekend. Sorry, you're going to do that. You're going to vibe code it at 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Week 2, you're going to send 10 pitches in 10 days, and you're going to follow up. Week 3, you're going to draft and submit your article. Week 4, you've been published, and you put that into your collection of proof points right on your website. You guys now have a decision to make. You're going to treat this webinar like all the other webinars. Good knowledge, I'll do that someday, and then you'll never do it. Or is today the day, right? If you're going to start, it's today. You got no excuse. Which side are you in? The maintain you're not gonna become a niche in your market. I know for sure saying it's not gonna make you an authority in your market. Doing nothing, doing the same thing that you have been doing. You will not become an authority if you don't do anything. If you follow these steps, I'm pretty sure you will. One more opportunity to schedule the growth call. And for everyone who stayed on, I would honestly, I'm thinking, Steve, like, dude, blur this out blur this out on the recording, the next slide. Cause I want
Okay.
the people who stayed on this webinar and stuck till the end, I want you guys to get the authority sprint because you guys took it seriously and you did work. This was not easy. I'm going to try to, if I can do this, I'm trying to unfull screen it and open it up and show you guys the authority sprint. The market map, I'd give you an Excel file and a Google Sheet, and I gave you a GPT prompt to build the market map for you.
So
That's
good.
that's going to save a lot of time. I wish I had that back in the day. I gave you my exact cold outreach script. You got to keep blurring this out, I guess. I got you the winning framework and then the prompt to write the article. Sean used this, just got published in Contractor Mag. Got the lean canvas template and that StoryBrand website template all there for you. I do have one favor I want you guys to do for me is pull up your Instagram right now and your LinkedIn. Hit me up, follow on both of those. Those platforms, I'm trying to grow my audience. So no matter what, please do that. Okay. Oh, the link to the authority sprint. We'll put it in the chat. We did it. 2 minutes to spare.
All right. Well, guys, does anyone else's brain hurt? My brain my brain hurts, but not in like a bad way. It's in like a you've overwhelmed me with such education that now I have to like go process it all.
Yeah.
So,
I think you're gonna, yes, you were able to connect a lot of dots on this one. You know what I mean? That
mhm.
was cool for you to have that experience and then be working with, so many MSPs now. I think you're gonna get a lot of value out of this, but everyone else as well. Cool to see Daryl. Um,
Daryl, I'll have my people call your
uh,
people.
yeah, and awesome. I saw, you know what, Clark and Sean. Just saw that you guys scheduled with us. Appreciate that. Appreciate you guys coming in. And
I
everyone
love that.
else.
You just get a little thing in your phone. It's like
Yeah.
real time, man.
Yeah. I can set you that up for you. And
Yeah,
would love to see you guys follow me and engage with me, especially on Instagram, where I'm working really hard to gain my audience there.
I need to stop. I need to start using something new, Nate, and maybe that's a conversation for another time. But I feel like I'm in like an echo chamber on LinkedIn. I need to know where all the MSPs are really hanging out. That's who I want to talk to.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
talk to more of me.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't put as much effort there. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Daniel. Thank you, Daryl, of course. Thank you, Joel. Um, thank you, everybody. All you guys, thank you guys so much for just being a part of today's session. And this was a fun one. We had like a good group, and I think like we kind of hit everything we wanted to do. So yeah,
Agreed.
we'll
I
see.
popped my LinkedIn into the chat if anyone wants to connect. I'm happy to accept connections from people that aren't trying to sell me AI chat marketing services. That's my hard limit these days.
As long as you don't send me an AI message and ask me if you're curious about my thoughts on something, like if you do that, I will report you. I've hit my limit too. So
If you use too many M dashes and antithetical statements,
yeah,
we're gonna throw down.
yeah. So all right, now, all right, we're good for today's content. Thank you guys so much, and thank you, Steve.
Take care, everybody. Have a good one.